Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this beautiful sunny day. At least it is here. I hope it is there too. We're going to do some Chen style, and we're going to start off with a little warm up. So let's salute, please. Right hand in fist, left hand straight. Pull back the thumb with feet together, hands together, and we press forwards. Good stuff. And we just relax down. And we're going to begin, well, I'm going to begin by zipping up here. By going into the four corners of the hips. So, nice and gentle, please. And as you do this, we don't just concentrate on the qua, on the area of movement, but I'd like you to feel your way down through your legs. And notice that as we move, we are gently stimulating all the structures of the legs and the ankles and even the feet. So this little movement is a jolly fine exercise for helping to check and calibrate the weight distribution across the feet. Now this is the big version, or the visible version, but when you're doing standing practice, you can actually think of this movement. You can feel into the four corners of the hips, just feeling without movement, and that very action will also do the same thing of calibrating and helping make sure that you are equally distributing your weight across the four corners of your feet. And I'm pointing this out because in order to have a good foundation to your stance, we need 4-point coverage on the feet. That will aid the entire structure to sit in its proper position so that energy can flow and that we heal from any injuries and also that we prevent causing further injuries. So let's change direction, please. So we can do this on a physical level as we are now to help us warm and release the joints, but we can do it on a mental and energetic level when we're standing, just to feel and check and release through the structures and make sure that we are properly weight distributed across our feet. Good. Now, I love this exercise. It's one of Master Chen Sha Wang's favorites, the Grand Master. And he recommends doing this 500 circulations in each direction. So we need to build up to that. But that is brilliant for really getting the energy flowing. It's very good for releasing any little bits of tension in the lower back and the hips. And it's very useful for just creating plenty of freedom. But again, we have to be careful how we do it. So if we went straight into doing 500 repetitions without much experience of it before that, we may find, as I did, because I tried it, that actually after a while, say after about 200 circles in my experience, instead of becoming looser and freer, my body became fatigued and the structures started to tighten again. So let's come back into center, please, and ease out of the stance. So if that happens, you've gone too far too soon, and you're not, once we begin to tighten, we're actually going against what we're looking for. So we want to make sure that the movements actually help us to release and relax through our structures. So build it up. Try 30 times in each direction each day, then try 30 times in each direction each day, 3 times a day, then build it up to 60, and so on. So we are building capacity and familiarity. We're building strength. Even that exercise is a strength building exercise. Good, so now let's have a little look at the ankles. So we take the weight into one side and gently rotate. And if you can go onto the ball of your foot. Honestly, this is the hardest exercise for me out of all the exercises in Chen style, because I want to go over on my supporting leg in order to free up the working leg. But we want to keep the hips level if we can, and the weight only in the supporting leg. So there's freedom. You can see I can lift the toe off there. You could do it aerial if you wanted to. And let's change direction. Go gently. You could even do this seated if you wanted to. Good. But again, we need to keep the weight distributed in the supporting leg. Shaking out on the other side. We want to keep those hips level, and as I say, we just balance on the tip of the toe. Notice I'm not pushing my ankle as far as it'll go. I'm keeping my structure, so there is some rotation, but it's not bending and flexing to the full extreme. Good, one way, then the other. Good. If you ever are working with an injury, warm-up is quintessential. You cannot leave it. Shake out, please. Let's go on to the knees. So we're going to open our stance and bring the hands to just above the knees, and soft and gentle and very small circles. So I don't want to see this kind of manic big rotation. It has to be soft, it has to be gentle, it has to be slow, it has to be no bigger than the size of your feet. Yeah, so you don't want to go beyond the tips of the toes or the edges of your feet. Good. And change direction, please. Breathe and relax. Think of melting the knees. And this is a common thing in Tai Chi. When we say bend your knee, we bend the knee. And that action creates a lot of tension in the muscles all around the joint and can actually tighten the joint. So let's bring the feet together. So I never want you to bend your knees in Tai Chi, ever. Don't do it. That doesn't mean that you're walking around with straight legs. I want you to think of melting through from your center. We melt and release, then we melt and release the hips, then we melt and release down through the legs, then we melt and release through the knees. Change direction, please. Then we melt and release the lower legs into the ankles, into the feet. So it is a sinking sensation rather than a bending sensation. Good. So up we come, and we're going to open our stance, and we're going to have a play with that concept. So we're going to do, in effect, a squat. But instead of bending the knees, do you see this is me bending? Instead of that, we're going to soften. Do you see, it actually looks different. Let me show you again. This is bending. Do you see the kind of sharper looking edge to it? Okay, and now this is melting. There's a roundness, a softness, a gentleness. So when we bend our knees, I want you to melt belly, hips, knees. Do it with me, please. And keep melting down the lower legs into ankles and feet. And when you come up, you don't just snap your legs back. Instead, you think of releasing. So the head rises and the foot sinks, and that gives you a lovely soft and gentle release. Think of like a spongy mattress. You're sinking into it and you're being buoyed up. But it's not just coming up. We want the release to go in two directions. So the feet go down and the head comes up. So let's have a practice, please. Bring the arms out to the sides. Bend the elbows. Haha, bend. Soften, release, shoulders, elbows into hands. Now we turn the palms and think of lifting a heavy weight. Now turn the palms and release belly, hips, knees, lower legs, ankles and feet. Turn the palms and two-way stretch. Feet fall down and away. Head floats up. Do you feel that two-way stretch? And repeat. Turn, release, belly, hips, knees, lower legs, ankles, feet. Turn, breathe in, and the spine lengthens. And again, breathe out, release belly, hips, knees. Now, depending on how you feel, you could stay there and just lengthen the spine. And turn and release. Belly, hips, knees. Stay there and lengthen the spine in 2 directions. Release, belly, hips, knees. Lower legs, ankles, feet. This time, let the feet release downwards. The head releases upwards. Stay up, relax, down. Very good. And ease from your stance. So we've done a bit of warming for those knees. As I say, I never want you to bend your knee if you have to, if you're doing it, because we're continuously on a stance that is like this in Tai Chi. From the get-go, we start with bended knee. However, I don't want you to think of it as a bended knee. I want you to think of it as releasing belly, hips, knees, lower legs, ankles and feet. So you have found a new level, but the knees are soft, the knees are relaxed. Good. And when we come up, 2 directions float away from each other, relax. Okay. So in this way, we're not holding tension in the knee. If you just bend, everything contracts. Whereas when you soften, when you melt, everything opens and allows energy to flow. We want to make sure that the knees remain in line with the feet at all times. They don't bow out, they don't roll in. We were talking about this before the recording. Sometimes when we relax in standing practice, our energy expands and that will naturally make our knees roll out. It actually blows us out of alignment. So we have to be careful about that and use a mirror to make sure that actually the knees are in line with the feet, which will feel, if you're used to letting the energy push you out, it'll feel like you're doing this, but you're not. So you have to be careful and use a mirror to check your knee alignment. Okay, so let's ease from the stance. We're going to do a little bit more leg warming and arm warming and body warming, and then we get into our form. So can we take a comfortable step forwards, please? Not too big. Again, if you are recovering from injury, overdoing it, over-egging it will be tough on your system. So this is not a full step forward, it's about a 3/4 step. It's a comfortable step. And then we're just feeding forwards and back, again checking that the knee is in line with the toe. It's not bowing out, it's not rolling in. And the movement, it looks like a leg movement, doesn't it? But of course, all movement in Tai Chi comes from here. It's being driven by your center, from this part. So the legs do the physical work, the body remains upright, but we want to think of it coming from center, feeding you forwards. Lovely. Let's step up and we change on the other side and just very gently mobilizing. Good. So an active recovery, if you are injured, is going to help you to strengthen and help your structures to heal. However, if you are out of alignment and you're continually using your system, you're going to delay healing and possibly make things worse. So listen to your body, and if it's screaming at you, that's a fair indication that something isn't quite right. So it could be alignment, or it could be tension, or it could be just that the area is irritated and there's inflammation, and just then anything is going to annoy it. So yeah, cold packs may actually help. I've always been somewhat reluctant to encourage cold and ice, but a cold pack could actually be of use, could soothe the area. Inflammation is energy, comes to the area, but gets stuck, can't flow through, and so everything gets irritated and inflamed. So we want to help the energy flow through, and we do that with movement. If it's too painful to do it with movement, we can do what's called Neigong, which is to visualize whatever we want to happen going on in the body, and where the mind goes, the energy follows. So you could actually lie in bed at night if you do have an area that's inflamed. You can lie in bed at night and visualize like a river of energy flowing through the area. Think of a flowing river with no obstacles, just flowing through the area. And that in itself could be of use. So there's many ways to go about these things. Good. I hope you're feeling warm. Let's just give the arms a little bit of a move. Good. You can add a little bounce to help. And the other way. And we're going to jump into our form. Now, I was mentioning about the benefits of standing practice, and it can really, it is one of the best practices for just general health and recovering from injury and preventing injury. It's very, very useful. But we're not going to do it in class today. I'd like you to have a wee play with it in your own time. Even a couple of minutes every day will make a huge difference. What we're going to do now, though, is a nod to the standing practice. Standing practice is basically the opening position of the form that you hold for a long time. We're just going to open the form and stand briefly, just for a minute or so. So it is a nod to standing practice, but if you do more standing, you will get more benefits. So let's begin, please. Lao Jia Yi Lu all the way through. So we begin in Wuji, feet together. Checking posture, please. The top of the head floating up, the chin slightly down and back, and we lengthen the fingers gently down. Take a few moments to simply arrive, breathe, and let go. Calming down. And listening behind. And let's begin. Release belly, melt into the hips, melt down the legs, melt through the knees, through the lower legs, through the ankles, through the feet. Open. Now we're melted, but we'll find a natural plateau where there's a feeling of strength and stability. Let's stand for a moment. Letting go through the structures, making sure we have alignment. Nothing is being blown out of that alignment. Let the energy flow through you. Good, and continue. Release belly, hips, knees, lower legs, ankles, feet. Check posture, relax to center. Punch. Part 2. Think of the belly button being pulled through the back. Turn the ball. Relax to center. Punch. And 4 corners ward off. You'll excuse me for checking my stance. In a small space, we need to adjust. Now, Cloud Hands gives us a great opportunity to adjust our position in the room. I always do all 4 of the steps because we can get into habits, but you could take one away if you wanted to. High pat on horse and relax to center. Okay, so from here we have our kicking section. We gather to the right and roll down to the left. Step across and sink down, arms up, kick. Step, turn, kick, and to face the back. Hands and fists, gather, lift left, turn back, toes, turn palms and open, kick left. 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. Planting flowers. So we gather to the right, make fists, and draw in. Left hand down to come up, up. Right hand up to go down. And if you could, in a big stance, punch the floor. Feed the weight back, turn in. Feed the weight left, untwist. Quarter turn, up and over. Relax to center. And release. Step right and swing. Step left, this time connect. Step down and back. Ward off position. Left palm faces out first time and step. Roll the hands as we turn for protect the heart punch. Make fists, turn center, square up, so the fist is under the elbow. And release, ward off. This time the left palm facing in. We square up and bounce. We turn, push the hands out, and gather to face the back. We step left and scoop. No fists this time, open palms, lift right, turn palms, pull back toes, kick right. Toy soldier position, quarter turn, and 3-way punch. Prepare. Relax to center. Check posture. And punch. Part 3. Again, excuse my little adjustments for the space. Forwards and backwards tricks. Step through. We need space on the right for Jade Maiden Place shuffles. Three steps, turning on the third. Our second cloud hands. Again, you can readjust if you need to. You can step back a little bit if you need to. That's not in the choreography. and over, into the left, kick, cross hands stamp, and stepping to the left, turn, seesaw. Golden cockerel stands on one leg. Part 4. We need one more step back, keep going. So part 4 is a direct cut and paste repeat of part 2, with one exception. And this exception is here. Instead of rolling a ball, we twist the left arm inwards and flick. Stamp and prepare. And then we go back to our pure repetition of part 2. Release belly, hips, knees, lower legs, feet. Relax and fill center. And punch. 4 corners, ward off. Again. Third, cloud hands. The final cloud hands. Do you have room for one more? And this is the same ending as the first cloud hand. For high pat on horse. And here we no longer do a repeat of part 2. We have our end game. We relax to center and circle. Gather to the left and turn. And this is our diagonal punch downwards, so we prepare exactly the same way. Release, relax to center, and downwards. Good. And uppercut. Step. Wrap in fists. Back foot kicks. And for the purposes of this recording, keep that position. We're going to turn the whole body, pulling the right shoulder back. Keep the position. Good. Continue up and over, into left. Make fists. Throw it out. Jinggang exits the temple. Buddha's warrior attendant pummels the mortar. Find the base of your body. Think of sealing in your good energy. Point to the floor and release the head up and the feet down. Decompress. Fill right. Empty left. And close. Very good. Very good. Well done. Okay, I'm going to give you a moment to recover. I'm going to put the recording on pause. Do a few wee stretches and moves. Take your time. If you're watching the recording, you can also pause. And then we'll... Good. Okay, welcome back. Hi, how did you get on?
Yeah, okay, it's good to do it all the way through, Jane, because we've concentrated on different wee bits. So now I think we're pretty good at doing it the whole way, aren't we?
I think so, yes, absolutely. It's the whole form is always a useful technique in itself. You know, if you're constantly picking at little sections but never actually put it all together, it doesn't have the joy, you know. So it's just from the point of view of sheer joy of doing it and actually finding that you know it, or that you know you're able to follow. That's a lovely thing. It gives a feeling of completion, and you know, you can pat yourself on the back that you feel like you've got somewhere with it. But at any stage in your practice, you can go back and pick again. So it's it's very useful, and it's very good for the brain. It's very good for sort of complex cognitive function, you know, that the brain is holding an entire form structure in the mind, and that we're walking through the map. And it's very easy to get lost in a long form. You know, if your mind wanders, if you're thinking about your lunch or whatever, or anything else, it's easy to get a bit lost, especially as there are so many repetitions through the form of particular movements. We have to keep kind of landmarks in our minds that, okay, well, I've done this, so next I do that. And I've done that, so I don't do that again next time. You know, so you're constantly kind of keeping track, a bit like doing a long car drive, you know, that you may know it very well, but you still have to keep your wits about you. So it's, once you actually know it, then you have to, it's actually more challenging in a way, because you have to keep an eye on it and still let go and relax into the flow. So if you let go completely into the flow, maybe your body will remember it and do it all the way through, or maybe your body will remember a certain bit and you'll end up in a loop, or leaving a whole section out. And I've done that. I've found myself finishing, pointing the wrong direction and thinking, what happened? Where did I leave out? Where did I go wrong that I'm facing the wrong direction? So yeah, it's brilliant to do the whole thing. It is an excellent practice. It's also good to, you know, to nitpick and deconstruct again. But yes, it's lovely to do the whole thing. Well done. Eric, any comments or questions or anything? And then we can do a section again if you like. Yes.
Yes, I agree. I think going all the way through does put it together and makes you realise how much you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lao Jia is like an Everest, isn't it? It's not a foothill. You know, the short forms are lovely little nuggets of Tai Chi that you can do, but this requires a certain maturity of of practice and patience and bravery. But actually, once you're in it, it just flows lovely. Okay, so we have 10 minutes left. What would you say? We won't have time to do the whole form, even at a run. That would be very, very fast indeed. It is possible, but it wouldn't be possible to, get the finesse and the fine details to go at that speed. So shall we take a section, folks? Is there a section that you would particularly like to do?
I do
What about
like
you, Eric?
I like section 1, I must admit.
Let's do section 1. I agree, that's what I was thinking as well, because we haven't looked at it recently. In any of my classes, we've been looking at 3 and 4 a lot. So let's get up and we'll do section 1, which is really a beautiful, it's almost like a warm-up in itself, isn't it? It has this nice, gentle easing in to the structure of the form. So up we get. I'll pop you on mute again. Okay, that's us. All right, so if we come into our stance, please. I take my slippers off again. Okay. So, first, we arrive in Wuji. Calming down. Listening behind. Let's begin with a release. Continue. sure you have space. Here's a perfect opportunity to check your alignment. Make sure that your feet are evenly spreading your weight. Relax to center. Punch. And ignore my little alarm there. Check alignment. Punch. Fill back, fill hands, relax to center and close. Well done. It's my little alarm saying, stop teaching, Jane. Very good. And that was perfect. So that took us to the end. So that's part one. Of course, again, with a small space, we need to make little adjustments. I put a pretty bunch of flowers in the corner that you can't really see because the light is so strong there. So I'll get rid of them because I had to do a funny thing with my arm instead of a nice, clean, apparent close-up. But it's coming very nicely, folks. I'm really pleased with your progress. Like all Tai Chi, really the key to success is regular practice. We just keep chipping away, and as we do our best to do it right. So if you are working with an injury, what I would recommend is do it relatively slowly. In fact, dead slow is fine as long as you keep the flow of movement and you're not stopping and starting. But even then, as a training practice, try getting into any position so you can freeze frame at any point and just check, okay, are my feet taking my weight evenly or am I rolling? Is my knee in line with my foot, or has it bowed in or out, or has it gone beyond the tip of the toe? So you can freeze frame at any point in the form, any intermediary point between moves, any point at all. You can stop and just check your alignment and make sure that your body is where it's meant to be to the best of your ability. And that can really help. It is a training exercise. It's not something that we want to do all the time, but it can really make a huge difference. So we can be listening and feeling for any little misalignments as we go and fix them as we go. So there's more than one way to train. There are many, many ways to train. So we can adapt what we're doing to suit our circumstances and to give ourselves the best outcome that we can. And this is something that we do in Chen training, that we'll do form in the first half of the class. And in the second half of the class, we have corrections and postures. So you can ask for, you can ask a question, or you can go into a posture and get the master to come around and do his lovely little physical adjustments, that he's hands-on corrections, and it makes a huge difference. It is like medicine. Once your alignment is there, the body heals itself. If the alignment is off, it's like the chassis of a car that's off. No matter how gently you drive, eventually you'll bust the engine. So we have to work on our alignment. Alignment is everything, and it will help you towards a healthier, happier system. So thank you so much for joining me today. Brilliant work. I'm really pleased with your progress. Let's take right hand in fist, please. Left hand straight, and we salute. Do a little warm down for yourself, please. Walk around for 10 minutes if you can. Just gently move rather than just jump into the car and drive or sit on the sofa and do nothing. Gently moving after your training is a very good warm down and reduces risk of injury and helps with recovery. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye, Jane. Bye, Eric.
Take care. See you next time.
See you next week. Yeah. Bye.